Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. Today, we are going to discuss moving on to bigger, more fancy missions. Now, we have very well explored some of the moons in our current solar system. Let me just zoom out for a second so we can view our handiwork. On our own planet, we've launched satellites, we have done a lot of landings, as you can see. We've taken surface samples from a lot of different locations. A little bit further out, we have been to the moon. We haven't done that much with this particular area yet. It's a bit more challenging to do work there, but we can always go back if we wanted to. A little bit further out, we have Minbus and the ever-faithful probe lander that we have here. We were able to conduct 4 consecutive landings with just 2 missions, making Minbus a science treasure trove. But now it's time to really start considering our big motives here, our big adventures, our grandest aspirations for our work here in Kerbal Space Program. Because now I want to start considering doing interplanetary missions, flying to the great unknowns, and seeing what there is to see out there. Let's review the places we can visit. A little bit further from the sun, we have a place called Moho. In fact, let's pull up some information on it. Moho, you can think of as a place like our real-world Mercury. It is very close to the sun, it is rocky, it is very difficult to get to, and it's sort of like landing on the moon, except more challenging because we're also competing with the gravity of the sun, which, as you can imagine, is immense. Further out, and a little bit closer to home, is a place called Eve. It's a bright purple color planet. It is almost the same size as Kerbal, so it might be a place that feels similar to home, but in fact, the gravity there is stronger than Kerbal, and it has a much thicker atmosphere. That makes landings there exceptionally easy. The trade-off is that it makes getting away from Eve and coming home very, very hard. But the rewards, as you can imagine, might be really good. Eve has a moon, actually. Let's see if we can see it here. Its moon is called Gilly. It is a captured asteroid. It is a very big rock, but actually smaller than Minbus. It might be easy to drift off from, but I imagine it would be a little bit difficult competing with Eve's atmosphere and gravitational pull. It also has an elliptical orbit. Not sure if it's quite obvious here, but we might be able to tell. I'm trying not to zoom in too close to Eve because I don't want to spoil what it looks like. So getting to Gilly might be challenging, but this place has a moon, which might be fun to visit altogether. A little bit further out we have a place called Duna, which is sort of like Mars, as you can imagine. It is a place that is red, it has a single moon. Mars in the real world actually has 2 captured asteroid moons. And it has a moon named Ike, which is also sort of like our own moon. I believe it's smaller. I'm not really sure what the details are on Ike. The Mars analog, Duna, is not that difficult to get to. It's not nearly as difficult to leave, rather, Duna, but because it has no atmosphere, it might be a little bit more difficult to land there. So it's sort of like the benefits of a really large moon, if you can think of it that way, with a slight amount of atmosphere, but not really enough to rely on parachutes. Ike. I know nothing about Ike. It's more or less just another moon, but there might be something about it that's special that I don't realize. A little bit further out still is a place called Drace. It is a dwarf planet. It is basically bigger than a moon, but smaller than a planet. It's somewhere between the size of our moon and, the moon, MUN, and Mars. I'm sorry, Duna. It has no atmosphere. It is essentially a giant asteroid. In the real world, there is a place similar to this. It's called Ceres, and it is within the asteroid belt. It is actually a very giant asteroid belt, the biggest asteroid we have. It is so big that we've recently reclassified it as a dwarf planet. And that might be an interesting place to visit. Further out, we have a fascinating location called Jewel. It is a gas giant. It is an exceptionally large place, and it actually has 5 moons. 5 entire moons. You can imagine how much... Oh, wait, actually, no. Does it have 5 moons? I only see 3. Oh, then we just had to zoom in far enough. It has 5 whole moons. Can you imagine the riches that are available to us on those moons? If we can get to Jewel, we will accomplish every science task that we ever need to. Finally, all the way out, as far as you can reach, is a place called Elu. You can think of it as sort of our real world Pluto. And by the way, Jewel is basically like Jupiter in the real world. Elo is a small, icy world. Unlike the real world, it has no moons. Pluto, in fact, has 5 moons, as far as I recall, but Elo is alone and very quiet and very icy. It seems like a lot of effort to get to a place that might not have that much scientific return, but everyone loves Pluto, and we might love Elo too. So, we might consider it. Now, personally, there are 2 places that I really want to go to. There are actually 2 very important places that I think would be really, really beneficial. The big one, I think my main mission for the rest of this game is going to be to go to Jewel. Jewel is by far, I think, the most interesting place to go to because of its high abundance of moons, and because, it's a gas giant. There are no other places like it. It's very far away. These science promises are astounding, and it sounds like a really cool, alien, bizarre place to visit. I can't wait to go to Jewel. The other place that I'm really excited about going more than the other ones is going to be Eve, because it's a purple planet. You don't have those. It is a atmosphere, which means that landing there will be easy and a cinch. And above all else, it might have some interesting things that are not available to anywhere else in the solar system. So I want to go to Eve and I want to go to Jewel especially. These 2 places are my main goal, but especially Jewel. What I would like to do at Eve is do a simple mission where we throw down a few landers. Because of its high gravity, I don't think I want to put that many Kerbal down on it, maybe 1 or 2. I want to put a couple of heavy missions there, and then when I practice at Eve well enough, I want to make it to Jewel, where we will conduct the biggest mission I have planned. I want to conduct... This is going to be my big final goal for the game. I want to place a massive... space station around Jewel. It'll be so big that it should be able to accomplish anything that we want it to. Science, refueling, docking, housing. I want it to be an orbital city. A Julian city, if you will. So that's my big goal. I want to construct that. When that's done, this series will be complete. And Eve will be our practice location. It's much more practical for us to get there. I will construct a smaller space station there, send some landers, some probes. I might send a rover down there too. So Eve right now is our next target, but Jewel is the big one. Now, you might be thinking I'm going to spend the rest of this episode talking about things, but I realize actually we might even be able to conduct a mission to Eve right now. A long time ago, we sent out a mission called Luna 1. It very briefly touched by the moon, and then it escaped into an orbit around the sun. But you'll notice here, actually, that like the way we did our Mooner transition, we can actually put ourselves onto Eve. I put a maneuver node right here. It's almost all the way around, and unfortunately, it's going to take nearly a year to get there. But once we do that and thrust, we should be able to put ourselves in an encounter with Eve. I don't know how much fuel we have left, so I'm not sure if this is going to be possible. But if we can succeed, we might be able to do an Eve mission right now. So this is kind of... maybe this is a little ambitious of us, but I'm going to see if we can do this. So we are going to rejoin the Luna spacecraft. Let's take a look at it real quick. Now, the Luna, by this stage in the game, is very antiquated, and we've already used up most of its science experiments at the moon and in deep space. In fact, the only experiments we can conduct left are 1 goo experiment, and I believe we still have some thermometers on the system as well that we can do. So, I am going to try to place this on a trajectory to Eve. If we're lucky, we'll be able to do a flyby. If we're very lucky, we'll be able to put ourselves in orbit, and if we are extraordinarily lucky, we might even be able to perform a landing mission. But in order to get there, we have to conduct a burn, and you'll notice that we have a very, very long time before we actually hit that node. So, I hope you guys don't mind, but just to save some time, I'm going to time skip up until we get to where this maneuver node is. So, here we go. A little bit of time skipping. I hope nobody minds that we're basically going like a full year without actually being on Eve. At this very high speed, you'll notice that we're actually very slowly moving on. You'll see these question mark objects. These are actually, I've determined, are actually asteroids. And I suppose if we were interested, we actually could land on an asteroid if we really wanted to. But we're not focusing on asteroids today. Our main mission is going to be Eve. We could get to Duna as well if I wanted to, but I'm very interested in Eve as a planet. I want to see what difficulties lie ahead, what problems we face, how challenging it is to land there. So, in a few moments, we're going to conduct our burn and make it there. It looks like Kerbin's actually a little bit faster than the Luda that we've initially launched. So, I'm going to quick save before we commit to the node, and I'll just be sure to do a couple of different tests. If we can put ourselves within the sphere of influence of Eve, then I will be happy, but the closer we can get, the better. I want, ideally, to be able to perform a landing. That would be the coolest thing, and would give us the most amount of science that we could use right now. So before we get anywhere close to this node, we still have quite a few days left before we hit it, but I'm just going to quick save, just in case it turns out we actually need to thrust more. So we're going to go back up. Okay, as we get closer to the node, I want to slow down. I want to aim at the node too, I can't forget that. Now, unfortunately, because this particular spacecraft is so antiquated, its steering capabilities are much more subpar, which unfortunately means that it might be a little bit trickier to maneuver our craft over to the node position. I will also admit that while we do have a ton of thrust left, I'm a little bit worried that we might not be able to make it. If we had more thrust than we currently did, I don't think it would feel quite as worried about this. So this is more or less a practicality test to see how possible it is for us to actually arrive at Eve. If we make it, that's wonderful. If we can't, then that's more data, not really as far as science's currency goes in this system, but it'll tell us that we need to commit to a very serious thrust if we want to make it to Eve. And that right there is important information. So I want to stay on the node. I'm going to quick save one more time, and now I'm actually going to do a very quick thrust. It says we need a thrust for 9 whole minutes. I don't think we can do that. Maybe we'll get lucky. So we'll see if this is actually possible. And if it isn't, maybe we'll wind up on some new trajectory that might be equally fun. Who knows? Notice actually that there only appear to be 6 hours in a day. Isn't that kind of funny? Yeah, I'll admit maybe I was a bit optimistic about this mission. In fact, it might actually be a little bit easier to launch directly from Kerbal, I realize. But we'll see. We'll see how practical this turns out to be. So about 2 minutes prior to hitting the node, well actually no, about 1 minute prior to hitting the node, I will start to thrust. Okay, so we're still on the marker right now. I'm going to keep ourselves zoomed out and aim the node here at Eve, where our landing position is going to be. So, here we go. Keep your fingers crossed, everybody. Hopefully it won't take this long to get there, but I'm just going to try to play it safe right now. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2... Almost. I'm really anxious right now. This is a fancy opportunity to get to a new world. I really hope this works. So at the 1 minute mark, I'm going to start to thrust. In fact, I'm actually going to start to do it right now. Oh, this might be doable, actually. Look at that! Only 2 minutes? Might be possible. Look at that! Our app oasis is slowly falling back down. This might be possible! I'm sorry, I'm really excited right now. You might be able to tell. Oh my gosh, this is entirely possible! I'm really excited. It might not be that unfeasible to land! You have no idea how excited that makes me, actually. Look at that! Oh, this is so cool! Oh man, I love this game. Okay. Here it comes. As we get close to the node, again, I'm gonna hit the control button and slowly lower our periapps here. I mean, slowly lower our speed, because I want to make sure that we don't overshoot. Down the throttle. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. We are almost there. Okay, if our periapps hits this point, we should be good. Let's hope. Come on. Let's do this game. We can make this. There it is, there it is. There it is! We did it! We did it! We're gonna land at Eve! Or we're gonna get close to Eve! Oh my gosh! You have no idea how excited that makes me! We might be able to land. Oh wow! Okay. This is awesome! We're gonna get to Eve, everybody! I'm gonna quick save right now, because we did it! Now, it's gonna take a longer time to actually get to Eve too, so I'm going to kill our node here and begin our journey. Here we go. When we enter Eve's sphere of influence, I am going to try to commit another thrust. We still have a little bit more fuel left, so if we're lucky, I will aim it right at Eve. And if we do that, we might be able to perform a landing. Or we might be able to put ourselves in orbit. The possibilities are quite endless. Okay. Here we go. Here it comes.